Welcome to the newest edition of Catan, Dawn of Humankind. We'll discuss the roots of this game. One thing that is very prominent in this game is that you don't have sheep, wool, cloth, all those kind of things. Instead, you have hide, bone, meat, and flint. Also, you will see there are no roads in this game. So you have all these points over here, which are either marked by the hand or these symbols on the board, which all represent where you can build your camps. These are the camps, or where your explorers can move. Also, explorers don't move independently, so we'll talk about how all of that works. In terms of development, you start with the basic putting one camp and you kind of go around the table clockwise, and then another person will put their camp, and then you go back anti-clockwise putting the second camp each. In terms of development, you need one hide and one meat to create an explorer, which is this. So you can basically say that I'm creating an explorer. So if you have a camp here and you have a camp here, your new explorer can only be created next to these camps.
Do you start with a couple of camps?
You start with two camps, just like the regular games where you have two settlements, you start with two camps. And then when you create an explorer, you can put the explorer here or over here or over here, basically. Sorry, so we start with three camps in this game, not two camps. So let's say the third one, you put it over here. So when you make your explorer by giving a hide and a meat, you can put your explorer next to any of these camps, and these spots that you see, the intersections where you used to make your settlements, is where these explorers can go. So let's say I decide to create an explorer and I put it over there. The next thing that I can do when I have enough resources is when I have a hide, a bone, and a flint, I can convert one of these explorers to a camp. But when you're trying to do that, you need to make sure that your explorer is actually on a place that allows for a camp. The camps are basically, you see all these hands, those are the places where you can have camps. Here you see all these different symbols, they represent the areas where you can have a camp. If you remove this, you will see the same symbol here. So that's where you can have your camps. When you build a camp in one of these regions, then you get to take this thing away.
What are these regions?
So this is kind of the dawn of humankind. This is Africa, and this is the rest of the continents that you're kind of going to go and explore. So if you come to one of these other regions, like if you come to this region, and you try to make a camp here, when you make a camp, you get this potato. If you come here and you make a camp, you get this token. So basically, you get these tokens when you're building your camps on those locations. Now, the other thing is that to move the explorer, like if your explorer is here and you want to move the explorer around, you have to pay either a hide or a meat. Whatever card you want, you can give back to the bank and you can move them around. So that's kind of how you move over the board and you try to make your camps and you get your resources. So the resource thing is the same, that if I roll, let's say 5, I got a 5, there's a 5 token over here, I will get a bone for the 5 that I rolled if blue player is my player. So this is kind of how this works. Now there is this other section which is of these boards here: clothing, construction, hunting, and food. You have to build them, and the way you build it is you kind of level up. So you can give one flint for any of these sections to move from level 0 to level 1, and then so on and so forth. As you do these things, you get certain advantages. Like for example, if I give one flint to build here, then I can immediately take one of these actions, which is kind of like a robber action. So this is this guy and that guy. You can put one of either of them in this section. The way this works is that this guy will come in this section, which is like the European section, and then this guy will come in this section, the Oceanic section or whatever. So that's kind of how the division is made. You can pick one or the other. So anytime you come here, you can do that. And then to keep going on this track, you have to give a bone to come here. To get here, you need to give a bone and a flint. And to get to the last section, you need a bone, a meat, and a flint. Now, whoever is the first player to reach this end stage gets to pick this marker. This represents 1 victory point. So each of these markers represent 1 victory point. Whoever is the first person to reach level 4 gets those victory points. So that's one way to get victory points. And then you can track your progress on all of these. You have more advantages as well. So for example, by paying a hide or a meat, your explorer can move 3 places. But if you have advanced on this track to level 2, then you can move 1 to 5 spaces. If you go further, 1 to 6, 1 to 7, and then of course, whoever is the first one to get here gets this token. The other thing is that you see on this board, there are all these symbols. You kind of see a glove sort of a symbol, and then you see this tent sort of a symbol. So the construction thing is the tent thing, which is over here. So your player being here represents that you are on level 1 of the tent. The player being here represents that you are level 1 of clothing. So I can come here and acquire this token. To do that, I need to be on level 1 on each camp, construction and clothing. And if I do that, then I can take this token. The advantage is that these tokens have these things defined behind them. So this token represents your action to take one of these and move them around. This token represents this. I'll talk more about what this means, but it basically represents the bone hex. This token represents this hex over here, which is a hide hex.
Forest.
And this represents a victory point because there's a golden symbol in there. So of course, if you get this one, it's a victory point to you. If you get any of these, what you can do is from Africa, which has removable tokens. All the other sections don't have removable tokens. African region has removable tokens. From Africa, if you get one of these yellow ones, you can decide to remove this 5 or 6. Again, what that means is that this camp here will no longer produce any goods for you or whoever owns them. And like if you remove this one, then it doesn't produce any goods from here. So you kind of have to keep going and I start exploring the world and do all of that. Now the other advantage.
Question.
Yes.
Can you remove 8 and 6?
You can remove anything. This whole of Africa, which is this region, you can remove any token you want, but you have to have the corresponding marker.
And you would remove an opponent's token?
Not necessarily. You can remove yours as well. You could remove a token
Why?
that is shared by an opponent. So, like, it is possible that, you know, I'm getting a bone over here, and I have two other opponents over here who are also getting bone, but I end up with, like, I don't know, 8 over here and another 8 over here, but my opponents don't really have any other way to get bone. I'm probably taking some advantage by removing this token because I still have 8 here and some of these other numbers from where I can reproduce those, things, but my opponents might not have that an option. So I might want to do that. So that's kind of how exploration and movement on the board and all of that works.
How do these two tokens move?
These two are basically your robbers. So if you roll a 7, then you can move them anywhere and you can steal a card from somebody's hand. The other way is I showed one of these tokens have that symbol, this one.
And they stay there permanently until the next 7 is rolled?
Same as a robber move. So either you get one of these tokens and then you can do it, or if you move here, then anytime you go here, you can take this action. Anytime you go here, you can take this action, and so on and so forth. And yeah, those are the only 2 ways to get rid of those. Now, the last thing is there are 2 other ways of getting victory point. So as you explore the world, this is kind of what Dawn of Humankind is all about, which is exploring the world and whatnot. So as you explore the world and you try to get these markers, these tokens that are up there, if you get 2 of these, if you get, like, let's say this one and then you get this one, if you get 2 of these, you get this, which represents 1 victory point. And if
Any 2 tokens?
Any 2 tokens. But then the thing is, whoever is the next person to get 3 tokens can steal this from you, and so on and so forth. If at the end of the game you are the one with the highest number of these tokens, or whoever is the first one to acquire all of them, basically gets this token permanently. And then the last thing is, as you go around building your camps, you can build camps in all these different sections. So you can acquire one of this token by building a camp here. You can acquire one of this token by building a camp here. You can acquire another token by building a camp here, here, and so on. So as you get all 4 of these tokens, you get 1 of these, right? If you're the first person to get all 4 of these tokens, you get a bigger one, which represents 2 victory points. Any subsequent player thereafter gets the smaller one, which represents 1 victory point. At the end of the game, you need 10 victory points to win, and that's how the game ends.
So if you get
Good
4
luck.
tokens, you get the big one and then nobody else can steal it from you?
You get the big one, nobody else can steal it for you. It's 2 victory points decided for you. If you are the second person or the third person, this is what you will get, and that's how the game ends. Note that you don't get victory points for having camps in there. You get victory points based on what you have acquired, which is some of these tokens, right? So when you build a camp over here, you acquire this token, which represents 1 victory point, and so on and so forth throughout the game. If you run out of camps and you want to build a new camp, you can do that by basically removing one of your older camps from the board and moving them to a new place. If you run out of your camps, you can remove one of your older camps and build them at a new location. You have that option. At the end of the game, whoever has 10 victory points first wins it. Good luck, have fun, and let me know how it goes.